to another episode of Otaku Nightly Hour, where we're having another episode of Shower Thoughts. And of course, I have Raptor with me today, and today's Shower
Same here.
Thought is an entry that proposes the question of if we have the ability to live forever, would we eventually get bored with life? Or would we find new ways to keep things interesting? Like, do we just emotionally detach over time kind of thing? Or do we just like go
Really
with the
like
flow?
venture into like anything and everything to keep ourselves from getting bored.
Well, like,
One of the
okay. Okay. Now here's the
so
question. Here's the question. Are we living forever in the same time period, or like are you proposing like say like how Dracula from Hotel Transylvania is really out of touch with new technology and stuff like that?
you can go about it either way. But the main premise I want to establish is how bored do you think we can get before we need to do something to just kind of avoid getting bored? Especially since we're able to live forever. You can think about this like with the Dracula route, or like like if we've just been immortal since like
The
the
dawn of time.
1500s or the dawn of time, yes. Or if like just right here, right now, we just like magically became immortal. How would that work out, from here on out?
I've read many stories about this and seen many of a plot lines about this, and I found this very interesting. I feel like okay, it really depends on when do you start the your life, and then the point of your immortality, because it really questions about how does the immortality work. Does the immortality work where once you gain the immortality you're stuck in that state that you gain the immortality, or do you continue to age along with it, just at a very very slower rate? Like eventually you're gonna reach the point of where you're technically an elder and stuff like that, but because you're immortal you don't have health problems per se.
Yeah, in that case, let's spice things up and go with like the perpetual like youth part,
Okay.
where like you just like stop aging. I mean, it would really suck if you like got into your 40s with like some hip pain that just won't go away, and then you just became immortal. Then I just permanently stuck with that hip pain, right?
Well, okay, if you're going on that second part, I would assume the immortality comes with being completely healthy and such like that. Because if you're in constant pain all the time and such like that, the immortality would be pointless and such like that. And you're basically just finding every way to basically seppuku yourself to get out of the pain.
Perhaps. Yeah, but I mean like that's the thing. If you're like elderly and you magically gain immortality, you're still gonna have like those debilitating effects because you're already at that age.
Well, like,
But I mean like
okay,
if it happened anywhere between you being like a kid to you being like in your early to mid 20s, that's a completely different thing.
I would hate to be
You're in better shape.
I would hate to be perpetually immortal at the age 10, because then you would look 10 like forever.
Ah yes, Ash Ketchum, I see you.
You won't be able to like get a driver's license and stuff like that.
You just have to forever live your life out like as a just wandering about.
As an orphan.
Right, but then like the other point of it is like what that you were asking is when, like
Hmm.
dawn of time, Dracula, like around that time point, or like now.
Okay, so I I'm gonna take the stance of if I was to be immortal at this very second, which I'm hitting my mid 20s per se, and that I'm leaning on the side of I won't have health problems and such, and living in this current time period. If I'm immortal per se and such, I think some of the things that would keep me busy per se for things to be interesting is
The
obviously the
economy.
media. I would say the media that we consume as well. Like, do you know how much time that means? I could take my time watching Detective Conan.
Well, another thing to do with that immortality is what kind of immortal are you? Like, are you the immortal that can be shot and still get back up, like nothing ever happened, or are you the type that like you're immortal, but if like you get shot through the heart and there isn't a hospital nearby, well, there you go. That's the end of your immortality run. GG, good luck.
I think it's like the immortality of like if I get hit by a car, I could just displace my stuff, my body back together, and I'll be fine.
Okay. So
Like
so you're
you
just
cannot kill,
invincible
you
and
cannot you,
immortal.
yeah, like you can't take me out and such like
You
that.
can't kill me in a way that matters.
Mm-mm. But like,
Um,
yeah, no. If the main question is like, would you eventually get bored of life? Slash, what would you do to keep things interesting and everything? And I think if I were to
or would you
be,
do something to keep things interesting?
I mean, me myself,
And I?
I think taking the question of like if I were to be in rather than like the general question of like a like an average man, I think me myself I would be able to entertain myself long enough because one, that means I have a lot of time to collect money as long as possible and stuff like that, as well as like figure out means to make content and of course enjoy my media as well, from video games to novels to like anime.
In that case, here's something to consider.
Mm-hmm.
If you can get hit by a car and get back up, and you're relatively fine, it'll take some time to recover, but you're effectively not gonna die. Doesn't that mean you can just simply ignore sleep and food? Or do you think those are things you just like are a must?
I think in those situations they're not
Because I mean, like,
necessary.
they're not gonna kill you because you just can't keep, you know.
Okay, immortality and insanity are two different things. Because
Okay,
if I
okay. So
didn't
we cannot ignore the
sleep,
sleep, is what you're saying.
we
But
cannot
what about
ignore
the
the sleep.
food?
I think the hunger is
The
something
hunger will
that,
go away. You're immortal. It eventually fades.
but I think also that like with the hunger, uh, not to say like okay, it's very similar to how Amethyst from Steven Universe goes about living her immortality. She doesn't need to eat, but she
She just
likes to.
likes it.
I mean, me
Fair
personally, I
enough.
like food too.
Who wouldn't give up a chance of just perpetually eating food over and
I
over
would
again?
try all the
But
ramen in the world and be a ramen connoisseur. That would be my new job life.
yeah, well, eventually the government would catch wind that this person, like this citizen, has just yet to age for like the past 30 years. Something sus is going on here. Now, if we were to become immortal now,
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that
Like
would be
you and
like a
I
huge.
sitting here.
I feel like that would be like a huge benefit, especially considering like I don't know whatever crazy thing may happen in the next 10 to 100 years.
Mm-hmm.
Assuming the government just does not care about us somehow just being immortal,
Mm-hmm.
and and just looking like at our like registry like 10, 50 years from now, and just like where everything's all digital, they pull up your digital records.
Mm-hmm.
You still like the same way you did like back in 2023. They're gonna be like, yeah, well, that's suspicious. Anyways, carry on.
But okay, so now here's another thing and such like that. Would you start investing? I know you're someone that looks into investing and stuff like that, and how the stock market is and everything. If you had the chance for immortality, would you start doing investments?
If you become immortal at that point, and if you don't need to eat, sleep is occasional. I feel like outside of just working a normal job, there probably would not be a need to invest, mainly because you're not really planning for like your immediate future, so you can retire and then
Yeah, because you're
uh,
immortal.
because you're immortal. And okay, assuming you're immortal and you cannot have kids, because then you have a bunch of immortal kids and descendants and
Hold on. We never
all that
said the
mess.
immortality was genetic.
That's why. Okay, well, if you are able to have kids and you are immortal, but they don't become immortal, I feel like that'd be pretty sad to just see like your kids just come and go.
I hear many a plot line of this and everything in romance novels. Like I'm not gonna lie.
Are those mainly done with the female main lead?
No, so the male lead is like, "Oh, I'm the immortal one, but I could never be together with the person that I love and such like that." So he watches her get married to someone else and stuff. And then generations later, he's like at a party. Like basically like it takes place in the medieval times the first time, and then in the modern time, he's like a CEO or something like that, goes to like a cocktail party, turns around, sees
Sounds like one of
like
those Korean K dramas.
he sees the person, that he gave away the same day, and they make eye contact, and not like, oh wow, she got reincarnated. They both look at each other and realize, oh squat, we're both immortal.
Oh,
I don't know what the title of this one is. I saw it on TikTok and I want to read this.
that. Mm.
It's funny. It sounds really interesting, but also kind of like a comedy ready to be made.
apparently. But yeah, I mean,
Okay, now the question is, would you actually, like, very similar to that plot line and stuff like that, would you stay like in a mediocre job in a sense, or would you start investing into trying to make like a big company kind of thing, like
well,
not Apple levels of things, but would you try to make a company where you could be not so hands on and stuff and make passive income?
okay, so if that just depends entirely on who you
Mm-hmm.
ask is me. I am the one answering. Um, I have a certain level of intelligence and like maybe not the highest, but a certain level enough to kind of
You and me
consider
both.
several
You and
things
me both.
like
Like
investing
I have some intelligence in certain fields and stuff like that. I'm not the
like a
smartest person in
lizard.
the world, but I have intelligence in certain fields and stuff like that. Like today I had a customer come up to me at my store asking me if we had any Puss in Boots merchandise, and for some reason I had weird knowledge that Build-A-Bear used to have Puss in Boots Build-A-Bear designs and everything, and that she would have to go buy it at a online to get sent to her and have it stuffed at the store or something like that. Like, why did I know that logic?
These are great questions we keep ourselves up at night with. But
Why do I know the
um
knowledge that I do?
but I mean like yeah, I mean I would probably have enough knowledge and hopefully enough resources and capital at that time. It probably wouldn't be now. It'd have to be like 20, 30 years down the line for me to save up enough money to maybe start my own
Business.
business. But that all entirely depends on the world staying stable and not getting ruined by a natural disaster and or war. Because I mean, like even if it like some kind of apocalyptic, like climactic finale happens, we're still gonna live through it. And that's why I actually kind of like
We're
wrote in the little mini notes, like, do we just become emotionally detached over time? Or do we just go into like more of a Warhammer 40K timeline? Because
I'm gonna take the plot lines that I'm more familiar with and talk about like how is it gonna be relationship wise with the people that you have around you.
yeah, so let me just bring up quickly like the Warhammer 40K. So basically, there's this dude, I don't know why, like
Why do
where the
you know
origins of this.
this?
Because I was bored and I saw like on a meme at one point, and then I looked more like into this person's like content, and they had like a bunch of like far-flung lore about the Warhammer 40K. So like the main dude himself
Mm-hmm.
was like this immortal guy back in like Mesopotamia like time period.
Mm-hmm.
And like this dude just kind of like kept growing and he kind of like kept reaching over like 10 to 12 feet tall. But for the most of his time, like he kind of just kept hidden away like for like thousands of years, like up until like I don't know, like the year 2000 or like 2500 or whatever, like
Mm-hmm.
close to like relatively now that the world just kind of like ended up like destroying itself because governments can't agree, right? So they go to
Yep.
war, they kind of just nuke themselves into oblivion. This dude just kind of like isolated, just kind of like catches wind of this, goes out, like all of humanity is gone. So what does he do? He has like insane like scientific knowledge to just kind of recreate humanity, but like a kind that just doesn't like end up destroying itself. And then somehow or another, I can't remember if he purposefully made himself like the leader or if they just elected him. But like this dude was like smart, like super smart to just kind of make humans from scratch. And like he just went on to just kind of like rebuild humanity and even brought them up to like a super crazy high technological level. And he kind of made himself like several sons, like they're kind of close to his stature, but purposefully nerfed so that way they don't like overthrow him and kill him because yeah, he's immortal, but that doesn't mean he's not, unkillable.
Yeah, no, but we're under the circumstances that we're gonna be unkillable, immortal, perpetually the state that we became immortal and stuff like that, kind of thing.
Yeah, so I was gonna say, like, with the knowledge I know, I can probably like, spend a few more decades. It's no rush to me, or maybe even a century, finding ways to just make a human from scratch, so that way I'm not so lonely in my new field of immortality.
But like, oh no, no, no. What I mean is that like you're gonna watch your family, you're gonna watch your friends die in front of you and stuff like that, and you can't do anything about it because you're immortal. You're gonna be the last one there and stuff like that. This is a thought that has piqued a lot of people when it comes to characters that gain immortality and stuff like that. Like, I'm gonna bring a niche, kind of, like you would never think to be in the show, but My Little Pony.
Oh no.
Like, a lot of people had came up with the idea of like, because when Twilight Sparkle, the main character, became an alicorn is basically their equivalent of like a character who has immortality. Their princess, Princess Celestia, has been immortal for like hundreds and hundreds of moons, which is, I guess, the equivalent of years in this case. And
No, they've just been immortal for like 300 days.
and one of the things that people have brought up is that if Twilight Sparkle, which at the end of the show it's kind of almost confirmed, but at the end of the show, Twilight Sparkle is going to outlive her friends.
Okay.
And one of the things that I think would, at least for me, I lean more towards the emotionally detached over time, because the people that I'm gonna be really attached to, because I'm an introvert, so I make very few friends, and I am very selective of said friends.
Yeah.
They're gonna eventually die,
Hmm.
and that's gonna make me feel lonely. Like, I'll see my friends within people that I meet over time after they're passing and stuff like that. That's not gonna be that, I'm not gonna deny that and stuff like that. But it's gonna be kind of hard to move on, especially when it comes to love interests and stuff like that. You have to kind of either make the choice of, I'm never gonna fall in love with anyone because I know like the end of what's gonna happen to it. Like, you both might end up like living together and eventually like your partner will die and stuff, or you take that risk, be emotionally damaged by by said heartbreak, and do you move on to the next person, kind of question mark, or do you wait for like the possibility of reincarnation? That gets to a lot of like philosophical and religious territory there of whether reincarnation is or is not a thing. But like, I think, me personally, if we were to take into consideration the relationship that we have with people, because we are humans are social beings by nature, I think
Yes.
people who would be immortal would be emotionally detached over time, because they would lose the people that they have interacted with very deeply with.
That's a good point. So to expand upon that, what happens like, assuming you stay immortal and unkillable for like thousands of years and humanity does not nuke itself into an oblivion.
Mm.
Okay, but let's press it even further past a few thousand years. First of all, would you even be able to adapt to the new coming technology?
I mean, I think you would slowly be able to adapt to it
Right, but by the time
because,
you adapt to it, like how long would that take? 10, 20, 30 years? But then like by then, like there's a new like
again
generation device
again
that's
i think
out.
that again i think that just really depends on the mindset that you're going to be on, that you're perpetually going to be on. Because if, say, like, you and I are in the state that we're in, where we're
Mentally damaged, yes.
easy to understand more newer concepts, like we're open to newer concepts, I feel like as we go over time and everything, because we understand immortality is going to be in our fate, I don't think we're going to be very close-minded on like what we learn and stuff. We're always at least me, myself, I'm going to be open about learning new things and stuff like that, and try to do my best to learn them and everything. And because I'm immortal and everything, and such like that, I feel like I would also have the time to go out of my way to learn into courses, new skills and such. Because
For
I know I'm
sure.
not going to be rushed to say like, oh, I have to be able to get this skill so I could get a job, so that I could raise money by the time, so I could save up to this goal by this age and stuff like that, kind of thing.
Retire by this age and have the government pay me.
Yeah.
But I mean like but let's push it even further out. Let's push it out to like a few 100,000 years.
Okay.
By this point, humanity may not even look like the way like, it looked like back in our time.
Hmm.
They may either be completely like, genetically modified in all new sorts of ways or just completely mechanical. And assuming
I'm
there is a
staring at
humanity.
Wally.
Or
Future.
yeah, what if everyone just kind of looks like everyone's either sitting on the chair or they look exactly like Wally.
Well, okay, that's just the limitlessness of what the future may or may not be. Because for all we know, the Wally future might be just a few like decades away, versus like 100,000 years from now.
Right, but I mean, like by that point, like the humans then, I mean, I don't even know if we could still call them humans, but like they'd be like so far removed from the way like we look like originally. We're like, I'm pretty sure like assuming we don't become too emotionally detached and broken because of how long we've lived at this point, I'm sure I would hopefully like still have that same kind of like what's the point? Enough joke in me to just look at them and just be like, man, they don't make them like they used to anymore.
Anyway, so that wraps up the 20 minutes that we have dedicated to the shower thoughts episodes.
Oh, that's so sad. I want to go on even further.
Anyway, do you want to say anything before we go, Raptor?
Now we've just been talking about this for like 20 minutes, but consider the past millions of years or billions of years. You're the last thing left in existence. Think with that, like as you go to sleep.
We'd love to hear your thoughts on the shower thoughts in the comments below, as well as if you have any shower thoughts that you might want to propose to us, put them in the comments as well. Anyway, so you all have a good night and see you on the next episode of Otaku Nightly Hour.